So undoubtedly, if you started researching water fasting, you have heard the term refeeding syndrome. And a lot of people want you to freak out and get super scared about it. Now, I'm not going to downplay it and say that it's not a potentially dangerous side effect, but I am going to say that as long as you pay attention and you're smart about your refeeding, it's not something that you should really concern yourself with. But in the interest of spreading out all the information, let's go ahead and talk about it. So refeeding, by definition, is just the process of reintroducing food after our water fast. We've gone weeks and weeks or however long without food. And so refeeding is how we go about introducing food back into our daily routines. Refeeding syndrome is a serious, potentially fatal condition that can occur during refeeding. It's basically caused by shifts in our electrolytes, and our electrolytes are what help our bodies metabolize food. So if we are fasting for more than a few days, our body is going to get into the state of ketosis. We've talked about it before. The state of ketosis actually takes our body and switches from a carbohydrate-based fuel source to fat-based. It breaks our fat down into ketones, uses the ketones as fuel. Normally, our bodies take carbohydrates and break the carbohydrates using insulin down into glucose and turn the glucose into fuel. It's just diesel versus gas here, folks. Fat would be diesel because obviously it's a better burning fuel source. So what happens when we fast for any length of time? We're not taking carbohydrates in, so our body slows its production of insulin. Now, if we go to refeed and we just start shoveling in high carb foods, what happens? We don't have enough insulin to process it. The body shocks itself, spazzes out. There's a huge shift in imbalance, and that's when refeeding syndrome occurs. There are several different electrolytes that our bodies use for a variety of different things. Our electrolytes get depleted during an extended water fast. That's why some people like to supplement electrolytes. If you check my description, you'll see that there are links to a lot of different electrolyte supplements, and if you're worried at all about refeeding syndrome, simply supplement electrolytes during your fast and you can almost ignore it. This does not mean when you refeed, go straight for sugary foods. We're going to get into refeeding and the basics in our next video. But for now, let's stick to refeeding syndrome and how to deal with it and counteract. When food is reintroduced, there is a shift during a fast that takes you from your fat-based metabolism, switches it back to carbohydrate-based metabolism, and this causes your insulin to increase in production. Cells need electrolytes like phosphate to convert glucose to energy. But after a fast, if you haven't been supplementing electrolytes, phosphate's in short supply. So sodium and all the other electrolytes that your body depletes during a fast. As long as you are careful about your refeeding, refeeding syndrome is not something that any person is ever going to have to deal with. The majority of people that suffer from refeeding are at risks from other things. Remember, smart refeeding prevents this from ever being a thing. If your BMI is under 16%, you're at risk. If you have less than 16% body fat, you're at risk. Okay, if you've lost more than 15% of your total body weight in the last 3 to 6 months, you're at risk. If you fasted for 10 or more days, obviously you're at risk. Being at risk just means you need to be aware. You don't need to be scared of refeeding syndrome. You just need to be aware that it is a thing when you choose your refeeding system. That's why I have so many videos about refeeding. As long as you're smart when you refeed, this is not something that you're ever going to have to be concerned with. It's never going to affect you if you refeed correctly. That's why we refeed slowly over the course of an entire month. We reintroduce foods. We reintroduce electrolytes. in decent quantities so that our body can start to metabolize carbohydrates in a much better and more efficient way. So maybe it's the monster under your bed, maybe it's a friend sitting there saying, hey, watch it. Whatever you want to consider it as, refeeding syndrome is just something to be aware of, but you don't need to be scared of it. I look forward to seeing you in the next class.